Hello, I hope you've had a great day today. Today, I'm going to read a book I just discovered. It's Nobody Like a Book. And this book is written by Allan and is illustrated by Brianne Farley. And I'm going to take the cover off so that I won't have it as a problem when I'm turning the pages. But I just wanted you to see it because it is so fun. And if you look carefully, there's a little girl who's reading a book, and look who's all around her. All these wonderful animals are watching, and she has no idea. Okay, so I'm going to take the cover off now, and the book shows just her, but not all the other animals. There she is. There is nobody like a book. And I want you to look at all these children that are looking at books. Some together, some by themselves. We learn important stuff from books. We learn to speak and think. Now you can see, if you look carefully at this picture, the little boy in the front has a book that is shaped like a ship, and it says the Titanic. And this little girl's reading a book called the Titanic. And they're learning words like starboard and port, okay? We learn why icebergs stay afloat and why Titanics sink. We learn to play harmonica. We learn to bake and cook. We learn to read and write. There is nobody like a book. So, wow, you can learn anything from a book. You can see all the different things they're learning. And here's a boy walking his dog reading a book. Now, what I see a lot of times is somebody walking their dog and they're looking at their telephone. But isn't it fun that this boy's reading a book as he walks along? Maybe you could do that. Now, look at this wonderful picture. Would it be fun to go up in that? And now you'll have to listen carefully because this book, as you can already tell, is written like a poem. But books are only smears of ink without the reader's mind to give the letters meaning and to read between the lines. So step aboard the Book Express. It's waiting at the station. But can you guess the address of your final destination? The greatest nation in the world, your imagination. So you can see all the places they're going in their imagination. I've learned to name the planets and to track a distant star. I've learned to bottle moonlight and to calculate how far a solid rocket booster sends a shuttle into space. I've learned to build a telescope to see space face to face. This homemade pinhole viewer even lets me see the sun. There's nobody like a book to show you how it is done. Now, wow, look at this. Isn't this a cool picture of space with all the planets and the stars? My launch pad is a science book. My mind is a constellation. The only rocket fuel I need is my own imagination. And look what he's doing here. I've climbed the heights of Everest, one hand behind my back. I've seen the sights of India from high atop a yak. I've anteloped in Africa and kissed a crocodile as I was sailing all alone along the river Nile. And look at all of these amazing birds. There she is, taking notes. I'm quite the global traveler. I've been to every land: China, England, Russia, Rome, New Guinea and Sudan, New Zealand and Australia, Yugoslavia and Perth, Canada and Kathmandu, Dallas and Fort Worth. But although these wondrous places hold a certain fascination, the greatest nation in the world is my own imagination. I visit any world I wish and never leave my chair. There is nobody like a book to make me feel I'm there. I see an anteater there in the corner, and look at all the animals that she's imagining, that she's right there in the middle of them. So step aboard the Book Express. It's leaving from the station. The only ticket needed is your own imagination. Whatever you are waiting for, the adventure starts today. Just grab a book from off the shelf and you are on your way. So that's the first book I wanted to read, just to talk about how wonderful a book is as a buddy. And now I want to read two books that have to do with being a friend. And the first one is Goat's Coat. I love this book, Goat's Coat. This is written by Tom Perceval. I've read one of his books not long ago, and is illustrated by Christine Pym. Goat's Coat. I wonder if you're like Goat. Do you share when you see that somebody needs something? We live in a world where we need to do more of that. And I'm going to tell you another thing about this book. It's also written like a poem. Let me tell you the tale of Alfonzo the Goat, who was terribly proud of his lovely new coat. It had bright, shiny buttons all made out of glass and a collar the color of freshly cut grass. People turned to admire as Alfonzo walked by. What a marvelous coat, he heard someone sigh. I bet they all wish they had a coat like him. Alfonzo was happy. He pranced and he skipped. Then he heard a sad noise croaking out of a ditch. Deep down in the ditch was a family of frogs. They used to live there in a mossy old log. But the log wasn't there. It had rotted away, and the frogs from the log now had nowhere to stay. I wonder what Alfonzo can do. He's thinking what he can do. The frogs were distraught. Please help us, they said. And Alfonzo felt sorry for them, so he tried. He unpicked some stitches upon his new coat and, using the fabric, helped make them a boat. The frogs were delighted. He had just made their day. Oh, thank you, they croaked, and they all sailed away. Alfonso's new coat didn't look quite so smart, but he felt a warm glow in the depths of his heart. He clipped happily on till he came to a shed. The sound from within it filled Alfonso with dread. What could possibly make such a sad sound as that? Alfonso peered in. Then he saw it was a cat. If you look carefully, the cat has got her tail caught in a mousetrap. The cat was trembling and terribly pale. It was clear to see that she had hurt her tail. Alfonso got busy and cleaned up the cut. Then, using his coat, he bandaged it up. The cat was so glad, so grateful and happy that Alfonso's coat was now looking quite ratty. If he keeps on, he's not going to have any coat, is he? He clip-clopped along through the crisp winter's day. He was whistling a song when a hen came his way. The hen was upset. She'd lost one of her chicks. Could this be something Alfonso could fix? Together, the hen and Alfonso looked around, but the hen's little chick just couldn't be found. Then, somewhere up high, a voice cried, "Help me!" And there was a chick stuck up in a tree. Alfonso removed even more of his coat, and he tied it together to make a long rope. He gritted his teeth, then climbed up like a rocket. He came down again with the chick in his pocket. Alfonso's new coat was now looking a mess. Still, what's done is done. It was all for the best. As Alfonso walked on, there were more problems still, but he helped solve them all with his coat and his skill. Can you see this looks like these some hedgehogs and a rabbit and all kind of people that he had to help along the way. Birds. Alfonso's new coat was now just a few threads, but he thought of the good deeds that he had done instead. The weather grew colder. Snow fell all around. Poor coatless Alfonso trudged back towards town. The blizzard grew worse. It got colder and colder. Alfonso took shelter behind a large boulder. Alfonso was freezing. The night would soon fall, and so he curled up in a cold little ball. But then he heard voices ring out through the night. Someone was shining around a bright light. Here came the frogs and the cat and the hen. He wasn't alone. He had been found by his friends. Seeing them all made Alfonso feel better. And not only that, they had brought him, what do you think? He felt better. They had brought him a sweater. Look at the sweater they had made. A sweater. They had made it themselves from the things they could find. A gift for Alfonso for being so kind. And so our dear friend, the goat, made best friends forever, and he wore his new sweater, whatever the weather. So he was a good friend. And you know what? He didn't do all that just so that they would do something for him. He did it just out of the goodness of his heart. Isn't that a great message for all of us? Now, the other story I'm going to read, you're going to have to look up on YouTube, and that will be another book for another session. But this one I'm going to read later is The Fort. So look it up. The Fort, a wonderful story about two friends who start out not being such good friends. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you later.